Hey guys, Kaushik here, the founder and CEO of Elevate, the #1 finance, private equity, investment banking, growth equity, venture capital, hedge fund, and fintech professional network and talent platform in North America. I founded Elevate to build a best-in-class networking, recruiting, talent, learning, and investing platform. Elevate is partnered with the top investment banking, private equity, hedge fund, growth equity, venture capital, and fintech firms, and the top 35 undergraduate and top 15 MBA universities across North America. If you've missed any of the previous videos, such as Day in the Life of an Investment Banking Vice President or others, be sure to check them out below. As I said before, if you like the content, make sure to like, share, and subscribe below. And then also leave a comment on what you learned from this video, as well as other topics that you'd like for us to cover. Okay, so let's get started. Private equity is one of the hottest, most sought after careers in the world of business and finance. If you look beyond just the insanely high salaries perhaps that you can make at a junior level, it's really three other things, right? Number one, it's the ability to drive huge amounts of transformation and change in the business world as a whole. Number two, it's an opportunity to work on really complex, interesting, and industry-moving transactions in the business world. And number three, it's an opportunity to learn an immense amount at very early stages in your careers, whether it be analyst all the way to principal or vice president. In private equity, you're tasked with finding great investment opportunities in private companies to typically buy a majority stake that you can then own for 3 to 6 or 7 years and then drive value during your period of ownership. You're basically taking ownership in a company and then helping it run better over the course of time. You're in charge of leading the 4 main aspects to a job in private equity. Number 1, fundraising. Number 2, investment idea generation or sourcing. Number 3, transaction execution. And number 4, portfolio company management. Let's just quickly hit on what are these 4 main areas in private equity. Number 1, fundraising. So how does your private equity firm raise new capital to invest? Number 2, investment sourcing. How does your private equity firm or you as a professional find new businesses, deals, ideas, and opportunities to invest capital into? Number 3, transaction execution. How does your firm or you as an individual, a professional, execute on a transaction or an M&A transaction from start to finish in the process of basically owning a company or buying a company? And number 4, portfolio company management. So how does your firm manage a company once you own it or once you buy it? So with that said, now let's get into the day in the life of a PE director. 6:30 a.m., you wake up and you catch up on your emails. You're on 3 live transactions at this moment, one of which is going to investment committee that morning, which means you will be presenting the investment to get sign off from the senior partners of your firm that morning. So the first thing you do is you quickly review the final memo that your team has been working on pretty much over the last few weeks, and they've just sent around some of the last and final changes in the memo. So you go through it, make sure everything looks good, and then you leave them a couple comments on some of the charts and figures that are in the memo. Then at 7 a.m., you catch up on the overall markets really quickly, right? There's overnight Asia markets, there are interest rates and other financial markets trends that are happening that morning, any early earnings releases, and then any overnight deals either internationally or in the North America market that may have happened overnight. Then you shower and start getting ready for the day. Then at 7:30, you have a breakfast scheduled with an investment banker who is also your advisor on an ongoing transaction. So you get to breakfast, and during the meeting, you discuss the deal in a lot further detail. Any new developments in the markets, right? Any new buyers that they might have heard of that you should be aware of. Any new developments from the seller side. So after breakfast, it's 9 a.m., you get to the office, and like I said earlier, it's time for investment committee. This is where you present your deal in front of all the senior partners of the firm, who then get to decide if the firm is going to invest in the company that you presented or not. So this is a very important part of your job. It's basically a presentation that lays out why we as a firm should invest in a company, and if so, at what valuation. So as a private equity professional, your investment committee is perhaps your most important stakeholder. And so not only are these the most senior partners of the firm, they're also the ones who will be seeing your work and deals every few weeks. So it is critical, right, to present a very buttoned up, very well laid out investment case. So now you have 15 minutes or so to walk through all of the important aspects of the deal, right? So you want to focus on the 5 to 6 most important things that everyone needs to know on the deal. Every deal is going to have 3 or 4 or 5 high level risks that are going to come up in that deal. So you as the investment professional really want to present what are your mitigants that you have in place in case those risks happen. And then finally, you'll go through all the financial returns and the model itself, right? So the committee reviews your presentation in detail and they'll ask you a bunch of follow-up questions, right? And you're basically have to be in a position based on all the work that you've done in the prior weeks to be ready to answer some of those questions that the committee has posed to you as a deal team leader. And then the rest of investment committee is effectively 4 or 5 other deal teams presenting their leads. So now it's 10:30, investment committee wraps up as you head out to meet with the second of your live deal teams. So this deal is not quite at the stage of the first one. This is sort of in the diligence process still. And so you go over with the team, which is usually an associate, a principal maybe, and also an analyst on the major areas of diligence that are still left to be done. And then you instruct your associate and analyst on what they need to do to build the model out further, as well as the areas of legal diligence that still need to be done, which then they can go ahead and lead while you're not around. So now it's 11 a.m. So now you have a board meeting, which you sit on the board of one of your portfolio companies. In this meeting, you get to meet with the full management team, so CEO, CFO, COO, all the other directors, to discuss the quarterly performance of the company. And then you get to go pretty deep into the weeds of the management plan and their financials and really make sure that you as an investor and board member are doing everything in your power to help the company achieve its own growth targets. And then now it's about 12 o'clock after the board meeting ends, you separately catch up with the CEO of that company on a call to make sure that everyone's aligned on the takeaways from the meeting, right? So part of having a quarterly or a monthly board meeting is that you execute or you lay out a plan that the team can execute on over the next month or quarter. So you just want to make sure that you as an investor or board member, even under very tough working conditions, have a very strong relationships with the CEO and the management teams of your own portfolio companies. So it's now 12:30. You have a lunch with a CEO of a company that you're interested in potentially acquiring. So this conversation that you have with the CEO really needs to be two-sided, right? You really need to understand what is most important to the CEO and why that company, that management team, and you are well positioned to partner together, and why you as a fund are differentiated in your positioning as a right person or firm to partner with them. So understand that they're not just partnering with this firm, they're partnering with you as an investor or a professional. So it's really important to be able to cultivate a good relationship with this management team. So it's 2 p.m., it's after lunch, you have to head back to the office. So on the way back, you call up your associate or your principal and say, hey, we just had this great lunch with this CEO who might want to partner together as an investor. So after lunch, you have a series of what are called expert calls, right? So basically when you're on a transaction and in execution mode, you would need to get up to speed on an industry or a company or a sort of micro market in a very, very short order, very, very quickly. Thus, you hold calls with experts. So these could be ex-CEOs or directors or operators or COOs in industries in which you're looking to invest. So you use this as an opportunity to learn a lot more about an industry in a short period of time to just get a lot of insight into a potential investment, right, that you're looking at. It's really important though that you ensure that all the information you are sharing on this call continues to be confidential. It's now 3 p.m. and you get to meet the lawyers on a transaction. So a large part of a deal execution is the legal work stream, right? So, and this is often the most complex. So you end up hiring the best law firms in the world to help you navigate questions or issues that might come up. Certain industries will have certain legalities and complexities that make them even more complex than other industries, right? So it's now 4 p.m. You've just finished all the legal meetings, and now you have a meeting with an important pension fund about potentially investing in your firm's upcoming fund. So we highlighted earlier, right? An important part of the director role is fundraising or help the firm raise new capital for a new fund. So for this, you speak to several new investors about the historical performance of investments of previous funds, the companies that you've invested in as part of the firm, and what the opportunities in the next 3 to 5 years lie ahead. So it's very important to present a very transparent view of not just performance to date, but also about the opportunities that lie ahead as an investor or in the firm. It's now 5 p.m. Now I have an opportunity to meet with your third deal team. So this process is in a much more early stage of the deal. So you've just received initial information, the confidential information memorandum. And so this is a great opportunity as a director to give an opportunity for your junior team to take charge and present to you their views on a deal. So you give the associate or the senior associate an opportunity to present why they think that's a good deal or not so good deal. And then you basically have an opportunity to coach and mentor them in order to help them become better investors or see things that they might be missing because they're newer, and you've seen this a lot. After the associate has presented their work, you collectively decide all right, this deal is something that's worth spending some time on, so let's go ahead and build a financial model and then look at what initial returns look like, and then put together a potential bid letter to put in an initial indication of interest for the firm. So now it's 6 p.m. Finally, you head to a dinner, which this time it's with another investment banker. And this is a new investment banker that you haven't worked a lot with in the past, and it's in an ancillary subsector that you cover or you want to start covering more. So you use this as an opportunity to really build a relationship between you and the investment banker, but also use an opportunity to assess if this is someone that you want to work with on future transactions. As I mentioned earlier, right? Relationships and information. Those are the two most important things that you can develop over the course of your career. So it's really, really important to focus on getting an advantage and sort of building those organically. So the dinner goes really well. You've now, made another great contact in the industry. Now it's 8 p.m. You head back home, and either in the car or when you get home, it's an opportunity for you to review all the work, right, of the various teams. We talked about a lot of the execution-oriented responsibilities and meetings that you have during the course of the day, but a large part of your role is also to manage deals and run processes, right? So you feel like your time is very squeezed in order to even have time to do all that, right? So really want to invest a lot of time in building up teams, giving them great directions, but also giving a lot of feedback and making sure everything is progressing. And then you catch up on all the emails that you have missed over the course of the afternoon, and then you get ready for the next day. Tomorrow, you're traveling to Austin, Texas for an in-person management meeting. So you review all the prep materials and make a list of the 10 or 15 questions, right, that you want answered in that meeting the next day. So that is a day in the life of a private equity director. If you've missed any of the previous videos, such as Day in the Life of an Investment Banking Vice President or others, be sure to check them out below. As I said before, if you like the content, make sure to like, share, and subscribe below. And then also leave a comment on what you learned from this video, as well as other topics that you'd like for us to cover. Best of luck, everyone, and we'll see you next time. In private equity, or just most of the finance jobs out there, you follow a progression, right? You start as an analyst, which is the junior most role where you're mainly modeling or deck building, and then you progress on to become an associate, which is a little bit more of a senior role where there's some modeling and deck building, but it's mainly transaction or deal execution and process management. Then after the associate role is the first sort of step up in leadership, where you become a vice president or a principal, where now, in addition to managing the day-to-days of a transaction, you are obviously managing the entirety of the deal, as well as sourcing new investment opportunities, as well as managing the entire team or the junior people in the firm. Then finally, sort of the most senior role in private equity is that of a managing director or a partner, where now you are the owner in a firm. You're taking on broader leadership across the firm, managing people, managing external as well as internal relationships and teams, as well as serving on what we call investment committee, which is making investment decisions in new investments for the firm.